Pretty good way to ring in the new year, the 2011. Slugfest Wizard, back at it again. I'm gonna... I know I said that a lot. This is just my quick kind of recap, my thoughts on UFC 125 Resolution and what I thought of it as a whole. In the end, it ended up being a really good show, but at the same time, with a title like Resolution, there was little resolution to be had as far as the main event goes, which was the talk of the town that night. Edgar versus Maynard. So let's start from the top. Before I talk about this, a while ago I was watching the some clips from the countdown show for UFC 125, and I was thinking about, could the main event live up to the hype that was being built around it? Sorry, because people were saying things like, "Oh, this fight's going to be nothing but, it's going to be really boring." So much for so much for Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard being Gray Maynard lying on Edgar for 25 minutes. That was a very fun back and forth battle. I gotta say, I didn't think Maynard would be able to do what he did for that first round, which is really legitimately rock Edgar, dominate him for the first 5 minutes, land 97 strikes, according to the ringside people scoring it, or CompuStrike, or whatever it's called. But not even BJ Penn, the former champ, was able to rock Edgar like that. He caught him several times, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, of course, Maynard's going to have the best striking, going to display his most impressive striking when he finally gets a title shot. And, but Edgar was able to dig deep, he was able to recover, and the Division I All-American was able to survive and take the fight back to Edgar, slam him down. He does that thing where he jumps in and goes body, head, and jumps back out. That's something only Frankie Edgar can do. And I had Maynard winning rounds 1, 3, and I didn't see him. I couldn't see Maynard winning round 5, but it was very close. It was very competitive, and it was. It's difficult to be mad at the judges for scoring it a split draw, 47-47, but we're going to have a third match between them, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So it's nice that Edgar is still the champ. I would rather him be than Maynard for the lightweight division. As for Frankie Edgar, he was very upset at himself. He was very torn about it. He wanted this fight badly. Before he got to the octagon, he ran right past the cameraman that was supposed to follow him. He was almost like, F this. I'm just going to get to the stage and finish off Gray Maynard. So that's how it went down. Their third fight is probably going to sell more tickets. So good job with them. And Chris Lieben versus Brian Stann. I got to hand it to the former Silver Star winning Marine, Stann. This was a bit of an upset too, for Chris Lieben to be finished with strikes like that. The only other guy to do that is Anderson Silva, but Chris Lieben got knocked out, got taken out in this fight simply for being Chris Lieben, if that's possible. Yeah, he went in there. He didn't fight that smart. He kind of fought to entertain. It looked like, to be exciting and. Like Marcus Davis, and I'll get to that in a couple seconds too. Brian Stann called out Vanderlei Silva, I believe, at the press conference, and that's a fight the UFC can make now. Vanderlei Silva versus Brian Stann. By the way, still I'd pick Vanderlei Silva, but if Brian Stann can win, man. I have one of his fights on DVD. I think when he fought, what's his name? Yeah. He actually did lose to Krzysztof Sosinski by submission. He lost to Steve Cantwell, too. Oh, but then he beat Steve Cantwell by unanimous decision at Diaz versus Gallard, UFC Fight Night. So, Good job for that. Then he lost to Phil Davis, Mr. Wonderful. And so, yep, good win for Brian Stann stepping up. And next one, Thiago Silva versus Brandon Vera. Well, I gotta say, bye, Brandon Vera from the UFC. It's a shame it had to go that way. Brandon Vera, there's a chance he could be back, depending upon where the UFC would go later on. But Thiago Silva, he is violent. Since getting knocked out by Lyoto Machida and getting just out wrestled by Rashad Evans, Thiago Silva came back and he's been looking pretty good. What's next for Thiago? Well, for Brandon Vera, maybe go to come to Carolina Fight Promotions. I'd like to see him fight. Not that I'm a fan, but Thiago Silva is going to fight. Thiago Silva is going to fight Quinton Rampage Jackson right now at UFC 130 on May 28th. That'll be really good. And this is a good one for him. Now, next fight, after that, Dong Hyun Kim. I picked Nate Diaz because I was going with the who I felt had the experience and the talent to win, but then I forgot to realize that the Diaz brothers have problems when they fight big, strong guys that have good ground games and that can take them down and avoid submissions, and that's what Dong Hyun Kim did. One of the judges scored the fight. It was a split decision. It was a unanimous decision, never mind. But one of the guys on 411 MMA gave the third round to Nate Diaz. And speaking of round judging, let's go back to the Frankie Edgar Gray Maynard fight. While Gray Maynard did dominate the first round, I would only give him a 10-8, not a 10-7. And someone, like on 411 MMA, they gave Gray Maynard every single round except for the last one, making the last fight a draw. I had Edgar winning round 2, 4, and 5 also. Because even though Maynard was landing the more powerful shots in the final round, Frankie Edgar was more active, and I saw him landing more. That's what I saw. If Maynard had won the fight, I would have been disappointed. Not in any fighter per se, because Frankie Edgar gave it his all. It was like a movie or something out there. But I guess I wouldn't have said, "Oh, Frankie got robbed" or something like that. So, okay, back to this one. What's next for Dong Hyun Kim? Let's see. That was a welterweight bout, so they could give him Daniel Roberts, who also won that night. Give him that guy. And we've got last fight, Clay Guida versus Takanori Gomi. Tough break for Takanori Gomi after becoming the first person and the only person so far to finish Tyson Griffin by knocking him out. And he just got caught with a guillotine choke by Clay Guida, Guida looked really good. He was dancing around a little bit too much in the first round, but was part of Clay Guida's game plan. He wasn't striking that much. I'll have to go back and watch it again, maybe. But anyway, congratulations to Jeremy Stephens on winning knockout of the night over Marcus Davis. Marcus Davis is also gone from the UFC, and someone else got cut too. I can't remember. Anyway. Yeah. For Takanori Gomi, give him a slightly... They could give him Jim Miller, but I'm afraid I've got Jim Miller winning that fight too, so maybe Dan Miller, depending upon what happens. I'm not sure. I don't know if Gomi's cut. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. Alright, for Clay Guida, maybe give Clay Guida Jim Miller, or give him a top guy, because that's 3 wins in a row, and he's been looking good ever since his loss to... He's been looking impressive ever since his loss to Kenny Florian. And also there is Jeremy Stephens, Marcus Davis is cut, and Josh Grisby, the guy that was supposed to be the next victim for Jose Aldo, he lost that night in what was also a big upset to some guy named Dustin Poirier. I'm probably butchering that spelling, and I apologize right there. But, yeah. His only loss is to Danny Castillo at UFC 50, Cruz versus Benavidez. So that's a tough one. Phil Baroni says goodbye to the UFC too. I believe he's cut after Brad Tavares finished him. I called that also. I haven't seen that one either. Yeah. Phil Baroni's UFC at the record is 3-7 at the time he was cut. And alright, okay. Almost done here. Mike Brown, he also lost to Diego Nunes via split decision. That's also an upset. Too bad that... Oh, how come Mike Brown wasn't on the main card? Oh well. Maybe because he's not a huge... Well, he's not a UFC star. He was a WEC champ. So, that's it for right now. Also, congratulations to Jacob Volkman for defeating Antonio McKee. Also, I think what was a mild upset by split decision. And for Jacob Volkman calling out Barack Obama after that fight. Anyway, MMA, that's how it goes, guys. I will be back in a couple weeks to do my picks for the epic-sounding UFC 126, but I'm going to talk about why I think there's a chance the UFC that UFC event might not end up being as good as it looks. So, peace out.